There we go. We got her in there. Okay. Well, welcome to the September 17th, 2024 meeting of the Revitalization Trust Fund. We are meeting remotely over Zoom. Just as a reminder that please remember that anything that the call is being recorded and that anything you would not want to be presented within our meeting, you need to be sure that you keep it off of the camera. So on that note, let's get started and just basically accept the minutes from August. I propose we accept the minutes as completed for the August meeting of the Revitalization Trust Fund. Do we have a second?
Yes. Second.
All righty. All in favor? 100%. The minutes are accepted. Thank you. All right. Let's go down the list here and see what we can do. The update on the Burke Wickstrom bench. That the bench is physically with the Park and Forestry. They're just, they normally try to do it on a rainy day to assemble the bench, but you know, I guess fortunately for us, we haven't really had a rainy day, so. But hopefully shortly. In fact, I'm gonna I'll be in touch with Ed Olson tomorrow and just find out what he thinks the schedule might be. Since, you know, if we're waiting for a rainy day, it might be a while. And I know that Sandy is very, you know, very interested in being able to do the dedication for the bench. But it's here, which is the great news. So we'll let you know as soon as I hear from Ed. The Cali bench, which is the one for the Mitchell School, it's ordered and just in progress. Hopefully in about a week or two that I will get a notice from Dumore estimating when the bench will arrive. One of the things that I explored with fast signs was I said, you know, we have two benches that are unlikely to make the event that they wanted to be able to dedicate the benches within. I said, so, you know, what would it cost if we took a photograph of the bench and blew it up to life size so they could have basically essentially a cardboard cutout that would sit on the pad that's already installed so they could see it. And so they said basically it's $250. So, you know, it's a little more expensive than, you know, for about $100, it would be like, oh, that's, you know, pretty reasonable thing. But I proposed it anyway to the family and just said, here's an option. You know, I'll find out more closely when this will happen, but their actual run is in the first week of October. So it's highly unlikely that we would get the bench and then be able to get it assembled and on the site. We could do that pretty fast if it was actually in-house, because I mean, I could go down there and bolt it together and then ask them to transport it. But the reality is you got to have it first. So we'll have to see. But anyway, it's a secondary option, and you know, just a creative thought to be able to have something show up for you know, the event if the physical original element wasn't going to be there. So we'll see about that. The Middleton bench, it's basically the same thing. They're both ordered. They wanted to be able to have the bench show up before the end of the soccer season. We'll see if that happens. Their order was in about probably 2 weeks before the Cali bench was able to be ordered. So it depends on how far, what the last game is for the soccer season. I don't know. Do any of you know? You don't have kids who are involved in it or know people who are
Mine
involved?
are young, so I don't know that that's the same schedule.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, but we'll find out whatever that is, and we still have the other, uh, cutout option if they want to do that too. The Catherine Booney bench, that's the one that's the carved granite, and it is also sitting in the Park and Forestry storage area, waiting for them to finish dredging Needham Reservoir, which is the reservoir in the center of the Amity Path. So until that's completed, they don't want to be able to have it anywhere near the area where they may be staging equipment and working. But the fact is that those two benches are here, which is great. And as soon as the path is clear, we'll we'll get them. They'll set them up and move the granite bench into place. And then we'll set up the dedications according to whatever the timeline is for the families. Let's see. Update on from Needham to the World, November sponsorship. Eric or Jessica, do you have any updates? We can do both things. Basically, one is we're out actively looking for sponsors for the $1,295 for the for this profile, and the second is I can give you a little update. Seymour has the information, and he's starting to assemble the profile now. So we've got some time, obviously, but we try to be able to stay at least 6 or more weeks out to be able to get the profile actually being built, because it oftentimes will take 3 or 4 weeks to be able to get a final iteration that's press ready, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Jess and I were back and forth a couple times over email. I took your advice and tried to reach out to Denise Garlick. I have a couple themes and a couple phone calls into her office, and I have not heard back since early last week. So I don't know if that was a dead end or if there's no one receiving that on the other end. So that hasn't been fruitful yet. Still hoping to hear back from them, but Jess potentially had another idea of an option as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so my husband works for M&T Bank. And they like to sort of publicize themselves around town when they can. So I was thinking I might try to get a hold of someone there and see if they would like to sponsor it. Especially as someone like Charlie Baker is politically sort of significant, so I think they would be even more likely to do it, I hope. The question that's coming to my mind as I'm sitting here, and I just can't remember what it looks like on the murals, but if they wanted to use their logo, like thanks to M&T Bank with their little green design, whatever their logo is, would that be doable, do you think?
Probably,
Yeah,
because
okay.
because I mean, these are not, this is not like the banner program where we can't advertise them. These, when a bank or other place like that, becomes a sponsor, that if it's part of their name, basically, then we should be able to include it. So
Okay.
yeah,
So I'll find out from my husband when he gets home later tonight, how to hopefully track down the right person. I'll try to get a hold of that person tomorrow, see if maybe that'll work.
All right, that's great. Yeah, just let me know and I'll continue to well, what I'll do is I'll wait for you to hear something from them. And then if for some reason, it's not what they want to do, or it doesn't work in their giving strategy, that let me know, and then I'll also start reaching out to a variety of other people and see if I can get something happening. So
Okay.
that's great.
One related question I had, and I don't know, obviously, oh, sorry about my dog. Paul, you've been handling this well, as we've gone along in terms of putting together a guest list of people, to come and watch the unveiling. I've never really gotten a clear picture of whether Charlie Baker is still living in Massachusetts, or whether he's moved at least part of the year to be closer to the NCAA headquarters. So I don't really know. I don't know. I guess I'm just bringing that up. I'm not really sure what the guest list would be. I'm not particularly good at that kind of thing, to be honest. I'm like a dedicated introvert. I don't really know how to do that. So, anyway, I just figured I would bring it up. I don't know how you start to put the guest list together, but since he's not necessarily local, maybe he is, maybe he's not, and I'm not really sure about his family members. I figured I would ask the question.
Yeah, well, first of all, the way that we normally put those kinds of lists together is, we start with the person who's being honored and then ask them, what other people would you like to be able to have or invite? And, are you going to mail it out to your, communicate with your network, whether it's family or, relatives of any kind, right? Or just coworkers and people like that. So that's normally where we start, is to ask them who would they like to be able to have. They obviously, the first question we ask is, will you be available to come to the unveiling in the first place? So we're hoping that Charlie will want to be able to come back to do that.
He used to live next street over.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been communicating with his assistants. I actually haven't sort of communicated with him directly, so I still don't really know. And I think I asked the question at one point, but nobody really answered it. So, I'm not really sure. But, if it's close to Thanksgiving, maybe that makes it more likely that he'd be around. I'm not sure. But, anyway.
Well, I was going to say, if you would reach out into the people you're communicating with, his assistants, and so on, and tell them that we're starting to, we're in the midst of putting the profile together, and we're looking for, feedback as to, number one, does Charlie have it in the schedule? Would he be able to sometime during the month of November? Because you can give them the leeway, because we always flex it, to whatever works for them.
Mm-hmm.
If within the month of November that they could be present to be able to do the unveiling.
Mm-hmm.
And second is, are there other people who are local or would like to come to be able to, be a part of the celebration, that we would love to have an idea of how many people that might be.
What is the item that will be unveiled for Charlie Baker?
Well, this is the program, Joan, that's called From Needham to the World. And it's a 4-foot by 8-foot rotating mural that is on the side of Needham Center Fine Wines.
Oh, it's like the NC Wyeth.
That's right, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Got it. And so this one, the next person coming up is Charlie Baker.
I see.
And so we're in the process of building the profile elements. Jessica basically has been our archivist, I guess is maybe the best way, and researcher for these profiles. And she basically, digs in and finds the information about the person, writes the bio for them, or works in conjunction, depending on, where they are, in the world, in terms of, professional bio and so on. She massages it into the profile. And then from there, we look for photographs in high resolution. That's a very important element, in high resolution, because we blow them up, right? That are from their, from them growing up in Needham, or, living in Needham, and then, professional things that were connected to what they've accomplished, in their life so far, in people who are, still with us. So that's basically where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
So if in your network of people, one of the things that we are always looking to do, or always need to do with this From Needham to the World, is to be out there actively recruiting sponsors for the future ones. The list has about 60 people on it. So at 3 per year, one every 4 months, that we have about more than 20 years worth of profiles that we can do. So
Just need a sponsor.
yeah, we just need sponsors. And we try to be able to, once we've completed this one with Charlie, one of the things we're going to do during the holidays and then into the first of the year is significantly promote being able to be a sponsor for this program, so that we can book up all 3 slots for next year, for 2025 in advance. So that we
Right.
have the money in the fund, and then we just have to build profiles from it. So,
Good.
and, and you can be, basically what you're doing is, you don't necessarily have to be sponsoring for a specific profile. If there's something, related in that way, then that's great. But it's basically just to sponsor the program itself.
Mhm.
And when they do that, we apply the money to doing these different profiles.
I see.
So that's how that works. So anyway, so let me know, obviously, whenever you find out about M&T Bank, and as a possibility there, Eric, if something, they give you a call back, let me know. And, we can also have 2 sponsors. It doesn't have to just be one. When we were doing the one where Tiger Okashi was sponsored, that we, because of the music element, and because there were 3 different restaurants in Needham that all do live music in the restaurants, that I just went around to them and said, hey, would you like to be a sponsor? I said, we're trying to put together, 2 or 3 restaurants to be able to be sponsors. And we ended up with 3. We divided it by 3, and we had it. So, there are lots of creative ways you can go coming up with sponsors. It just depends on, connecting with the motivation of the people.
Right.
The only other thing, Paul, I might email you a little later once Seymour has the photos that he's chosen to use.
Yeah.
They sent me a bunch of when he was a child and growing up in Needham and all of that, and I'm sure they're fine with all of those. There were also a handful that I pulled from the internet.
Mhm.
And I'd like to just give his assistants a preview of which one of those we might be using, just to make sure they're photos he's comfortable with, because I chose them, he didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I'll check with it. I'm assuming Seymour doesn't have that nailed down yet. It's still kind of early, so I will check in with you on that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He basically, is starting the assembly. In fact, actually, one of the calls I'm making tomorrow to him is just to ask that question. Now that you've got the content, because that's what I do every time, right? Is, like, now that you've got the bio, that's easy to put in a box, right? But what of the photos you have, what have you, had a chance to be able to look at the resolution of the different ones? And is there anything, are there any like really great photos that we need to really, dig in deeper and find if we can get a, high res image of that, because it's an important image. So yes, I will let you know as soon as I've talked with him, and we'll see, see what, if we have to do a little more digging. And I'm, at least with Charlie Baker, we have more options.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Although I'll tell you, was blown away with the shots that you were able to come up with for NC Wyeth, and
Mhm.
things like that. I mean, that was great, because we were able to put together um, basically high res images to be able to do that, and especially with all the artwork and things like that, it's just awesome. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
all right, yeah,
Okay,
I'll
good.
definitely, yeah. All righty, let's see. Needham Post Office trellis. Well, basically, where it's at right now is it's installed. The wisteria is planted. I go over about every 3 days and water it, according to what they told me at Needham Garden Center,
Where is it?
right in the side of the post office, right on
Oh,
Groveland
right
Avenue.
inside.
No, on the outside of it, yeah, where the grass is.
Okay.
The grass is still not particularly pretty. It needs some serious lawn care, but
Nobody's grass is particularly pretty these days.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, I can tell you, my backyard doesn't look too good either. So, um, but but they do seem to be mowing it more often. And I think some of that is because now that they have the trellis there and the bench has been moved into position and so on, that they it just develops, the more of a a desire to be able to have it look nicer. And when I was over there, what was it, last night? I think it was watering the wisteria. because we just want to make sure it gets really well established. Wisterias, from what I've been told by the different garden people, are incredibly hardy. But we want to make sure that their kickoff allows them to be able to establish good roots and be able to draw the water it needs, so that they're so it's able to thrive. But one of the reasons we picked it was because I told them, I said, once we do the initial watering and it gets established, I said, there's no water spigot on that side of the building. So, even being able to do something with the grass is difficult because they don't really have a place to hook up a hose, which is kind of crazy. But that they wouldn't have put a spigot on the side where the grass. It's the only place there's grass in the whole thing, and this is the only place where it doesn't have a spigot. It's like down the block and around the corner. So anyway, we'll that's where we're at as far as that goes, and I've talked to a mason about some stone landscaping to be able to set the bench into the front, so it actually sits on either bricks or some type of stone. And basically the cost to be able to do that type of thing right at the moment is just we'd have to find a serious sponsor to be able to do it, because it's going to be like it'd be more than $1,000 to be able to to do it in inset brick with cobblestone running around the outside and so on. The other option we do have, although it's it's not a quick option, but we could use one of the if the post office is agreeable to it, that we could inset a concrete pad, as we've done at the Mitchell School and at Cricket Field, and just have the only other cost we'd have is for someone to be able to just excavate and level and put in the pea stone to be able to set the concrete pad on top of. So that's that's sort of where we're at. We'll do what we can, and I'll keep asking around if maybe the post office has some type of slush fund that would have a few $100s in it to be able to do something like that, and then we could find a sponsor, or out of general donations we might be able to find for the pad. But we can vote on that and decide whether that's an allocation of the money that we want to be able to use or not, once we have something more concrete. So, but in the meantime, it's green. It seems to be it seems to be hardy, and although I don't expect anything this season, when we get into the spring, it should flower. It's got a lot of good pods on it, and once it gets into its element, they say that it should have flowers through most of the warm season, and it gets a lot of sun where it is. So it's basically on the let's see. It's on the north side, but it's clear, it's clear and open to the sky. So basically when the sun's shining, it's getting sun pretty much most of the day. So anyway, that's the scoop with that. The update on the town common box art progress, that the version has been now submitted to the Speed Pro. Speed Pro has been assembling the proof. They've just put together basically a rendering of the flat. When they do these renderings for any of the boxes, it's basically they take the different dimensions of the boxes, and then they do like a flat layout that shows the faces of the different boxes sort of attached to each other. So it doesn't really give you the understanding of what the box would look like unless you have work with this stuff, you know, with some frequency and you have a good imagination. So Seymour actually went in and he's now, I just got this a day or two ago, he's now got a rendering where he applied it to the box. He took it out of what Speed Pro had rendered and then applied it to the box. So what I'm going to be doing probably maybe tomorrow is to take those things. I will send them to you guys so you can all see this thing, which has been, you know, all developed in conjunction with the Historic District Commission and Ed Olson. So you can see what the renderings will all, you know, the basically design looks like. And then we'll also be sending it to the Historic District Commission as an update. So because they approved the concept and they basically said, you know, if you stick to this, you know, the specific types of, you know, of images and concept here, you don't need to come back to us. Just, you know, we'll just, you know, trust you to go do the right thing. But, you know, I always want to be able to bring it back to the people who, you know, it's great to be able to have that trust, but it's much better to be able to trust and verify. So, so we'll bring it back to them. And the other piece of the component, even though I guess it's the Historic District Commission that does the final, you know, decision as to what this was doing, but the select board is a select board. So we're going to send it to them also so they can see it. Because if anybody's going to ask questions about it, they're probably going to go to the select board. So we want to make sure that they're informed, that the Historic District Commission is informed, and that all of you are informed, since this has been sort of a, you know, a connected project with the Revitalization Trust Fund and two other, you know, sections in town. So that's the scoop. So watch your email, and in the next day or two, you should have something where you can check it out and you know, be able to give any feedback. But the whole concept of it was to make the boxes basically look like they're part of the garden. And so you'll see how we did that. And we also are doing it with, you know, a bit of whimsy. So there are animals that show up in the image, and those images of the animals are real life animals. Well, then the photographs were taken, the high-res photographs were taken by a Needham photographer who their whole specialization is taking high-res images of animals. And so it's Susie is the same person who has who took all the photographs that we have embedded in the Ridge Hill wall mural that we're, when you're talking to people, that we're all looking for sponsorship for, because that's basically all we need is the sponsorship money, and it goes in. But there's a whole series of images there that were all taken basically at Ridge Hill. So, you know, we've got you know, the elements of, you know, Seymour Levy and Susie and her photographs, and the taking from the concepts from the landscaping that exists around the boxes. So basically, all these Needham elements are all being infused into the, you know, in the entire design to make it integrated. So that's what it is. One of the things that we talked about in the design was the fact that potentially we might also want to dark stain the concrete base that these sit on top of to diminish the, you know, the noticeability of that pad. Actually, Jake at Speed Pro said, you know, his recommendation, which I think is great. He said, basically, let's get the things wrapped. And once it's wrapped, look at it. If it feels like a distraction, then great. Well, you know, we can always stain it. But if it doesn't, then we'll just leave it alone. Because we'd use concrete stain, so it wouldn't peel off or do any of those kind of things. But it would just, the whole idea was to just darken it so that it so when people look at it, they don't look at the, at the concrete base. They stay focused on the image and the integration into the garden. So we'll see basically once it gets wrapped, what it looks like, and hopefully if we can get this completed quickly enough that right now we still have the weather to actually be able to install it. So if the weather turns cold, then we're going to have to wait till the spring. That would be unfortunate, but we will, but it has to be installed in the right weather conditions, or you can't do it. Otherwise, it won't adhere properly. So that's where we're at. Any questions about that project at all? All right, the next one is the Needham Heights banner. We've talked about this for a while, but it happened to have timing that made it so that the branding committee for the town was in process of trying to be able to come up with a new logo for Needham. And so since this project would essentially be the first project that would display something that, was designated as like, Needham Heights, that we basically said, well, we'll just wait until you finish the branding to see if there's anything that either, needs to be incorporated into it, or that we'd want to have incorporated in it to make it, sort of the first shot over the bow of the new branding. So, Joan, just to catch you up to speed, we have a banner project that's waiting in the wings. It's already been approved by design review and so on. It does two things. In Needham Heights, where Blue and Highland is?
Yes.
All right, well, behind them, there is a public parking lot. But it only has one little sign that even says it's a public parking lot, and they have all the light poles with the banner arms all around it, but they're not used. And so we put together a concept for a banner installation, basically, for being able to have in that parking lot the P, the blue, like if on Chapel Street where you see the blue banner that says parking,
Right.
that they would have those on the entranceways as you go into that parking lot, both on what is it? I always forget the name of the street. The side street that goes up.
I know,
Yeah,
I
and the
know,
cross.
I don't know the name either, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, I gotta find somebody who lives there just so I can, have a peg to to the name. But anyway, so but there's like a center island at the street side where there's a double banner pole with a light on it, and the same thing at the back right-hand corner of that lot. And so the idea is to be able to create double banners there, but those banners are highlighting features of Needham Heights. So, and that carries into going on to Highland Avenue, so that the banner pole that is on the heights itself, and then the four that are on the street where down where Starbucks down to Blue exists, that whole block there would have these feature banners, so that when people would drive into town, they immediately know when they've reached the spot that they're basically at the Needham Heights Center.
And so what would they say, the banner?
And the banner just basically at the top, it says Needham. At the bottom, it says Heights.
Okay. That's pretty
Right.
straightforward, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
in the center, there are four squares basically. And one of them has an image that is the Avery Common. The next one is dining. The next one is shopping. And the fourth one is Gorse Mills Art Gallery.
Oh, nice.
So we wanted to be able to get the connection. Most people just forget that it's even there. And
Right.
so we figured if we get it onto the banner, that at least people will ask questions about it. And if you
Right.
just, Google in your phone, Gorse Mill Art Gallery, their site comes up. So we thought it was a way to be able to sort of, get people more involved in knowing that, that art gallery has a new show every month that's open to the public.
Hmm.
Most people don't know that.
Right.
So, anything we can do to be able to help promote those kind of things, we'll do. And that's basically what the banner does. So the thing that
That's
might
good.
change is we just had a stylized large letter Needham and Heights. But depending on what the result of the logo is, that the top for the word Needham might have the Needham logo as the Needham part, and then it would just say Heights, and we'd use whatever the stylized font is
Right.
that they've decided on. So that's basically the story for that. We're waiting for
Okay,
that.
thank you.
And let's see. Well, and one of the things I had on the agenda, but of course, you're here, Joan, so it's not really necessary, is just going to give them progress on the interview. But Shazam, you're not only interviewed, you're already accepted, and you're sworn in.
Right, right. And I received my official letter of appointment today, but I signed in, swore in yesterday. So it's all done.
That's great. And so I wanted to just take a moment to have the other members of the committee actually, hear a little bit about you and what, why you were interested in the, being on the committee, and then to ask some questions of you so that, you can,
Okay,
you know,
well, my first career was at the Kennedy Library in Columbia Point. And there I was involved with all aspects of exhibits and communicating with the public and, all of that. And I even mounted one exhibit myself of all the presidential libraries. And so I'm interested in all that entails. And from what Paul said, and from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of that. And the other part is that I think it's a really wonderful thing that the committee is doing to fill in these places that need attention that no one else has time or money for. And I think the funding model is really good too, to get the whole project done and then just find someone just to sign the check, that makes things a lot simpler than the usual way. So I think that's very effective, and I think you can get a lot done, and you obviously are. So, and I would like to give back. I've been here for 50 years plus, so I'd like to give back to the town because I've enjoyed living here. Any questions?
Jessica and Eric, whoever wants to go first, why don't you tell her a little bit about you guys and how you got on the committee, and because
Oh, that
you're
would be
interested,
nice.
and then, go from there.
Yeah, I similar to you, I was interested in the work that Paul and these guys were doing, revitalizing these various public places in Needham. And I'm out and about a lot with little kids, and it's nice to see someone try to bring some light to these areas. A lot of these places go unknown, like you said, parks, benches, walls, small little installations which kind of catch your eye once you really start looking around. So that was something that was attractive to me. And I've been in Needham for 8 years now. I've got a 9 and a 7-year-old, and that's it. I love the town. I grew up in Wellesley, so not too far. I have some friends who I know that grew up in Needham, so I kind of feel like I have a connection to it from my childhood as well. And that's it. So it's very nice to have you as part of the committee, and welcome.
And you might want to just mention a little bit about also the expertise you bring from the construction industry and for project management and things like that.
I am. Yep. I'm in the real estate industry. I'm a developer. I build single family, multifamily homes, and manage various other construction projects for private clients as well. So it's something that, you know, piques my interest. I'm an art lover of all kinds, as you can see. So yeah, it felt like something that I wanted to also give back to as well. So yeah.
Eric's
you.
been very helpful in being able to find, craftsmen when we needed to do individual things. And that's a great resource for the, for the fund. So thank you.
Mm.
Jessica?
I would say, I guess my reasons are very similar to everyone else's. I've been in Needham since the year 2000, which is hard to believe, 24 years. Both of my kids have gone straight through the Needham public schools. My son, who's my younger one, is in his senior year at Needham High School. And my daughter, who's 21, is in her senior year at Brandeis University. So, they both went all the way through, had great experiences. I feel like they had a great education, were involved in a lot of town sports and other activities, community theater, almost anything you can think of, they had some involvement with. So I think I think Needham has been good to my family, so I kind of wanted to give back myself. And again, similarly, I like the little, as Eric said, once you start noticing them, you see them around. The artwork, the murals, the statues, and they really make a big difference, I think, in terms of making the town more beautiful and interesting. My profession is I'm a lawyer, which involves a lot of research and writing, which is what I really love to do. So, working on the profiles for the people featured in From Needham to the World has been really interesting. It's just been really interesting to learn about people's lives. And I was quite surprised by how many sort of interesting people grew up in Needham that I wasn't aware of. So that's been kind of a fun, interesting process to work on that. So, and welcome. We're all glad you're
Thank you.
here. So
Well, thank you very much.
I hope you enjoy it.
Mm.
I think I will.
And, of course, the other thing is that she's also a longtime friend of Carol. So, and a neighbor. So that's extremely, serendipitous. And in fact, that, when we were talking about being able to, fill some of the slots on the committee, she goes, I know somebody who might really be interested in this kind of thing. Let me ask her. And sure enough. So that's
Yeah,
great.
So, you want to say anything about what type of work you were involved with?
She talked a little bit about the Kennedy Library and those types of things.
Okay, but what
Was there-
her work was? What
What's-
type of work?
Carol was asking, so what was the type of work that you did maybe between the Kennedy Library and?
Well, at the Kennedy Library, I was an archivist, arranging personal paper collections. And I also was the curator of the Ernest Hemingway collection, which not everybody knows it's there. 95% of the papers, manuscripts from Ernest Hemingway are at the Kennedy Library, which is a wonderful asset for them. And it's a great resource because anyone can access them. So I enjoyed doing that. But then I got bored, so I went back to school and went to the technical side. And so then for the last 25 years, I worked in high tech with digital equipment, compact computer, and Hewlett Packard. And I started out as a technical writer. And then I moved over to technical training and ended up managing training development for some of the programs. So.
No, that's great. That's great. And it's one of the things that is a lot of what we do, has to do with, research or being able to collect information to be able to understand.
Yes, no,
Yeah,
I've had
project.
lots of experience and I enjoy that. So.
Well, that's great. That's great. And it's also, being able to have people who are sort of, ears of the community to be able to, listen for, some of the needs in the community and to see if there are things that,
Yes,
that we're able
yes,
to address. I mean, just
right.
for example, the reason that the Claxton Field bleachers project came into being was because one of the parents had been going, his daughter played women's softball. And at Claxton Field, there weren't any bleachers. I mean, basically the bleachers they had been so worn out and they were tucked up into the trees, but they eventually, couldn't be band-aided together anymore, so they just took them out. So when anybody would go to the games for the women's softball, you'd have to bring your own chair. They're like, he said, Paul, is there anything you think we could do about this? And I said, I think we can do something about this. And so that actually connected us up with two other families, the Alpern family, and the wow, Allie's parents.
Who?
Allie, who, I'm, so I apologize, I'm blanking on the name, but anyway, but basically it came together with three families who all had they all had an active, a child or family connection with women's sports. And one of the things that was just fantastic is that they all basically came together and we were able to put together the project. At that time, it was a $15,000 project. And so each of the families could donate $5,000 and we had the bleachers at Claxton Field. And part of the project, doing that, part of the way we designed that project was we walked with the heads of Parkers Forestry and Park and Recreation around the field, talked about how the field was used and some of the idiosyncrasies of the way that it had been used before. One of the problems was when the bleachers were there, was it because the bleachers were not only tucked into the woods, which wasn't a great location for them anyway, that they were also directly behind one of the team's benches. And apparently parents get pretty enthusiastic about encouraging their kids to to play the game. And so that they felt that that was probably not an ideal location, is to have all these parents who were directly behind particular players bench. So that's why when you go to Claxton Field now, that the benches are now located, the bleachers are located on the side, which gives everybody a much broader view of the entire field. It also is not directly behind any particular team's bench because they're separated. And third, because of the way that it's designed, that it also has spots for a wheelchair to come in onto the pad, so they can sit in the front area to be able to make that accessible. And the way the particular style that we chose allowed it to be able to have multiple aluminum platforms that you could sit on. And basically that's how that project came into being. It was hearing a need in the community and then being able to bring together the people who had an active interest in that particular niche. Because they look at it and they go, well, but the boys field has all this equipment and they have dugouts and it's like, and the girls don't get this. So that's how that came to be. So listening, when people talk about those different types of things, it's something that we're always interested in being able to see if it's something that might be appropriate, since we basically deal with hardscape improvements.
All right.
So we don't do gardens or things like that the individual element needs to be continually maintained. In fact, I would say that probably our closest thing to a garden is the From Needham to the World program, because it's constantly being renewed. But we don't have to water it, so that's kind of a good thing.
Just the
Well,
wisteria.
don't forget about the wisteria.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Well, once it gets established, hopefully the post office will continue that.
Right. Take care of itself.
Yeah. So, let's see. So one item that and in fact I just got an email on it today, is that in the past there's been a downtown working group for the basically was established to do several phases of the downtown revitalization that the town has pulled together. And, phase one was what you basically saw, included where you had Chapel Street, where the sidewalks got widened, you got the new light poles, and that type of thing. Then a part of the expansion of that was being able to do the entire intersection of the center of downtown, which was the new traffic lights, the front end of the common, and the flanks basically were all part of that renovation. So they were working on then the next stage of doing this. And one of the things that's part of the whole financing process with that is that you basically have, it's CPA funds, the Community Preservation Act funds that are used to be able to do these kinds of things. That and no, excuse me, no, I think there may be some involved in that, but the funds that are used for it are Chapter 90 funds. And so we're all contributing there. The state contributes X number of dollars per year into that fund. So because these projects are all several $1 million at a shot, that we have to wait time in between. And which is a good thing anyway, because you don't want to be constantly tearing up the downtown. That really has a negative effect on the merchants. So you want to do as much as you can in one shot, so that once you've done an area, that you're not messing with it anymore. So that's so everything goes back to a normal state of being. So they're actually restarting that, and we were one of the committees that were represented in that, in the grouping. They had people from, it was a Revitalization Trust Fund. They had the people who were representing bicyclists, people who were representing landscaping, ADA, different, the Historic District Commission, whole variety of different groups all sit on this committee to be able to, give their input as, plans and designs are being developed. So, so in the past, we had been signing up for, I'd been signing up for to be on the committee when they would tell us to renew, but they didn't actually have a committee pulled together to be able to do it, but now they have. So the committee is called the Downtown Redesign Working Group, DRWG. And so they've asked if we would have a representative on the committee again. And it's a 3-year commitment, because these projects always take time. So the question to the committee is, what do we want to have me continue to do that? Did any of you, want to be able to be on this committee for the next 3 years? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't have any initial thoughts. I think it's a great idea for the committee. And it's nice that you've been representing our voice, your voice up until now. I don't know that that's something I'm interested in specifically, but obviously happy to support it in any way that I can.
Okay.
What about you, Jessica?
I mean, I think it sounds great. And, Paul, if you're happy to keep doing it, I think that sounds great. I personally don't think I can bite off anymore and be able to chew it. So, I don't think I could do it, but I mean, certainly if that's something you want to do and can do, I'm supportive of that as well.
Okay, all right. And, Joan, I would also open it up to you, but I would say that because you don't have a lot of history of the committee, it might be more difficult, more challenging to be able to.
I'm a newbie.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right. Need some time under my belt here, yeah. But I think it's a good idea to be connected, but we need to find someone to be the connection.
all right. Well, I'm certainly happy to be able to do it again. It's always an interesting project. The past one was, was very interesting. And, so if you'd like me to represent you on the committee, then I will, then I will do that.
Great,
All righty.
Sounds good.
yep.
There we go. Let's kill that. You hear that? My phone was squawking at me, telling me that it was 6 o'clock. So Carol, anything else that you have?
No. No, at this point, no.
All right. So basically, we want to set the time for the next meeting
Yeah.
in October. So let's see if we can nail that down.
Does this date as a rather than Thursdays,
Yeah, just
do you like the Tuesdays?
just ask everyone, does it matter whether it's a Tuesday or a Thursday? Are the Thursdays better for you guys most of the time?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Eric and Jessica?
It depends on the individual day, but let me know what day you're thinking.
Well, no, what we're thinking of is just asking the question, we've shifted the day to be able to
Tuesday
make it
general?
work. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but if Thursdays seems to work, most of the time, then, we can leave it at Thursdays. This was just an exception because each of you had things that you needed to be able to get done.
I'm actually fine. I typically block off Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and then I have my other stuff Monday, Wednesday, Friday evening, so I can either is fine with me.
Thursdays tend to be a little easier for me actually, but I could make either one work.
Well,
So
let's go for easier since it works for everyone else, right? And so so it's basically either we do the 17th or the 24th of October. Either of
They're-
those.
The
They're both fine.
17th would be better. 17th would be better for me.
I can do 17.
I can too.
Oh, I won't be here the 24th, that's why. I just read to turn the page. I'll be
That
on
would be easier,
vacation
yeah.
out of
Okay,
town.
that's great. All right, so why don't we say Thursday, October 17th,
Yeah,
5 p.m.,
yeah.
Sounds good.
same bat time, same bat channel.
Bingo.
Bingo.
All righty. Well, thank you
Sounds
all. Any final input or comments or anything before we wrap it up?
Nope.
Just
Nope.
nice stretch of weather while we still have it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, well then, I propose that we adjourn the Revitalization Trust Fund for our meeting today on September 17th, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
And it's a wrap.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much, and welcome, Joan, and
Thank you.
we'll see you next
Good.
time.
Yeah.
Good to be here. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
I
Good
guess.
night. Thank you, JP.
Night.